OK. Nous allons début la réunion. Bienvenue ce matin tout le monde. I call the meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 104 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Pursuant to Order 108, Sub 2, and the motion adopted by the committee on March 21, 2024, the committee is commencing its study on anti-Semitism. So I've got a few things to read first before we start. First, on the audio feedback, I want to remind all members and other participants in the room of the following important preventative measures. To prevent disruptive and potentially harmful audio feedback incidents that can cause injuries, all in-person participants are reminded to keep their earpieces away from all microphones at all times. As indicated in the communiqué from the Speaker to members on Monday, April 29, the following measures have been taken to help prevent audio feedback incidents. All earpieces have been replaced by a model which greatly reduces the probability of audio feedback. The new earpieces are black in color, whereas the former earpieces were gray. Please only use a black approved earpiece. By default, all unused earpieces will be unplugged at the start of the meeting. When you're not using your earpiece, please place it face down on the middle of the sticker so that you'll find the sticker on your table. Please consult the cards on the table for guidelines to prevent audio feedback incidents. The room layout has been adjusted as much as possible, especially for this morning, to increase the distance between microphones and reduce the chance of feedback from an ambient earpiece. These measures are in place so that we can conduct our business without interruption and to protect the health and safety of all participants, including the interpreters. Thank you for your cooperations. And for those that don't need the earpiece, again, do not plug it in. This way it won't give any feedback to the interpreters. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format. I note all witnesses are appearing in person. Connection note to any members have been completed in advance of the meeting. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. And for the benefit of all attending and viewing the webcast, I would remind that all briefs can be sent to the committee until May 27, 2024, and they should not exceed 3 pages in total. Now I want to, for the witnesses' benefit, just so that you know, this is how all meetings are conducted, nothing personal, but I will let you know right now, we've actually prepared these cards, and I will raise it when it's at 30 seconds. I know when somebody's, doing their business, it's hard to look up, but I'll keep raising it, and then when the time is up, I'll just raise the time is up, and I'll give a few seconds to wrap up if somebody has not wrapped up, because and I will do that for everyone, just for fairness. And then for all members, as you know, there's a number that have been in this committee for quite a while, and we have a number that are new. Just remind everybody that it's important that we are all compassionate in our conversations and that we are all respectful to each other and to the witnesses. And I expect that to continue this morning. Thank you very much. So now I want to welcome the witnesses for today. As individuals, we have Rachel Cook. We have the student Michael Eshayak, student Nicole Nashin, attorney Neil G. Oberman, founder, Canadian Union of Jewish Students, Nadi Pressman, And for Hilal Ontario, Yos Tarshish. You each have up to 5 minutes for your opening remarks, after which we will proceed with the round of questions. Again, if your comments are 6, 7, 8 minutes, don't worry, you will probably get an opportunity to go back to them when the questions also happen. And just a reminder, I will say that now, if there's anything you wanted to bring up that you did not have an opportunity to do during the meeting, whether in your opening remarks or during questioning, please feel free to submit that to us in writing, as long as it does not exceed 3 pages. So thank you very much. So with that, we will start with 5 minutes each, and I will just call you as I have you here on the paper in front of me. We'll start with Rachel Cook, please.
Thank you very much to members of the committee for using your platform to elevate our voices today. My name is Rachel Cook, and I'm a rising 2L at the University of Alberta Faculty of Law. I am Jewish. I am a Zionist, but most importantly, I am a Canadian. On December 6th of last year, I asked my law faculty's Department of Student Services if they would be willing to include a menorah in their annual holiday decoration, which included Christmas trees, Christmas garlands, and Christmas lights. The reaction to my request was initially positive. However, that evening, I received an email from a member of the administration stating that I would not be permitted to add my menorah, and furthermore, that due to my concerns, the trees would be removed as well. The administration reasoning was primarily due to the secularly festive intent. I believe there was another and more insidious goal, however. One day before I requested to add a menorah, an administrator had wandered around campus dressed up as Santa, handing out candy canes to faculty and students, including to me. I think, however, the faculty and the University of Alberta was concerned that displaying a menorah would be seen as supportive of Israel, a politically unpopular opinion on campuses throughout Canada. Someone at the U of A administration made the decision to subtract from the enjoyment of the Christmas season to avoid including Jewish symbols in that display. In my opinion, that's especially problematic given the amount of churches that have been burned throughout this country. Contrary to my administration's assertion that few, if any, people will notice the removal of the trees, their removal became international news. My story was covered by the National Post, various American channels, including Fox News, and by various European and Israeli news agencies. In addition to media requests, I had discussions with federal and provincial politicians and many concerned members of the legal community. I also heard from Jewish students throughout North America who had similar experiences on their campus and who were terrified to return to campus after their break. I sympathize with that. In the weeks leading up to me going viral, there had been a number of anti-Israel protests at the U of A, including one advertised as a rally for martyrs. The director of the U of A's Sexual Assault Center, Samantha Pearson, had been fired after making headlines for signing an open letter calling the well-documented sexual assault that occurred on October 7th unverified. Additionally, Students for Justice in Palestine was permitted to operate openly on campus, contrary to the U of A's statement saying otherwise. Specifically in the Faculty of Law, student groups had advertised in the Law Students Association weekly email that they had partnered with organizations that had been banned in Israel and other countries for support of Hamas. One of the founders of that club was selected to speak at an awards dinner, where she stated we had a lot to learn from the bravery of Palestinians. I personally had accepted a mid-semester move between sections after a criminal law professor concluded that the system kept Black, Indigenous people of color from their land, and by making what I believed fair comparison of the system to a roof infested with termites. This professor is still teaching, and I would later sign an open letter stating, quote, stating that they, quote, reject the notion that is anti-Semitic, hateful, or illegitimate to contextualize the October 7th attack. 1 month after the trees were banned, an EDI feedback meeting took place at the Faculty of Law. No Jewish student nor Jewish faculty was present at that meeting. According to the minutes, which I received by Freedom of Information, it was noted that my appearance in the media was one of the greatest attacks to student safety, and that there was space for the faculty to make comments and hold people accountable. I could never have imagined that voices on campus would advocate for holding me accountable for asking to display a menorah or asking to speak out against anti-Semitism. I was reminded of all this earlier in the week when I walked through Rutherford Library on my way to my final exam. There was a display of student artwork, including an interactive one discussing Gaza. Students were invited to write their feelings about, quote, history washed over by colonialism, end quote, on this interactive display. Students had done so, and the display included a swastika, support of a recognized by the Canadian government terrorist organization, the People's Liberation Front of Palestine, and a message reading "Death to Zogs," implying that the Jews run Western governments like Canada and the United States. I have been left after this year with the impression that the U of A is more interested in covering up systematic anti-Semitism on campus than addressing it head-on and working towards change. Unfortunately, speaking publicly about documented anti-Semitism has been seen as a greater risk than the behavior that I've worked to draw attention to. I've heard from numerous members of faculty, classmates, and many Albertans who have quietly offered their support for my advocacy, and I have no doubt that when I return to campus, I will be broadly disliked for speaking out only by a vocal minority of students. As you undertake this study, I encourage you to keep the following in mind. We have been told for years that words are violence, feelings of safety are paramount, and that we should be mindful of actions and interactions and how your behavior can harm shared goals on campuses. It is embarrassing for institutions across Canada to admit they have allowed a cultural environment of anti-Semitism to thrive, but light, like from a banned menorah or a banned tree, is the best way to shine attention on hate. Albertans and Canadians as a whole are hardworking, ethical people with a deeply ingrained moral compass.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. I gave you about a minute more, but that's okay. You'll get a chance to give us your feedback, your recommendation with questions. So thank you for that. Michael Eshayak, please.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me today and for leading a national conversation on the disturbing and troubling rise in anti-Semitism on university campuses since the barbaric terrorist attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th. My family fled persecution in Iraq, settling in Israel where I was born. As a teenager, I often visited my great aunt who moved to Canada and fell in love with Montreal. I arrived at Concordia to study finance 2 years ago and felt right at home. I became part of a global community comprised of students of different backgrounds and cultures, bringing unique perspectives to our studies in a respectful and open manner. It was what learning was meant to be. In this spirit, I became one of the founders of the Startup Nation with the goal of bringing Israel to our campus through business, innovation, culture, and technology. Little did we know that we would soon become leaders in the fight against anti-Semitism on campus. Let me share some milestone dates with you. On October 8th, a day after the horrible attack, ASPHR Concordia posted, and I quote, "Last night, the resistance led a heroic attack and has taken over 30 hostages." On October 25th, hundreds of students walked out of class at 1:30 p.m. and participated in an anti-Semitic sit-in in solidarity with Palestine in Concordia's main lobby while chanting, "From the river to the sea, Intifada now, and resistance is justified." These chants are threatening and a call for genocide of the Jewish people over and over again. On November 8th, 30 Jewish students made a Shabbat table with empty chairs on campus to raise awareness for the hostages crisis. As a result, about 300 pro-Hamas students and faculty harassed, threatened, and physically accosted us while yelling, "Go back to Poland," and "Kike," amongst other threats and chants. Personally, my life was threatened as I was told, "You better get off campus or you will not get to see tomorrow." On November 23rd, a second anti-Semitic walkout took place and all participants were fully masked, screaming, "There is only one solution, Intifada revolution." On December 13, students from across Montreal came to the main building on our downtown campus, chanting anti-Semitic rants and waving offensive signs and banners, such as "Globalize the Intifada," which is a clear call for another October 7th or another 9/11. On March 4, the administration canceled our event because we were hosting 3 reservists on a diplomatic mission to speak about Israel's journey towards stability and peace. The event was then moved to the Jewish Federation, where pro-Hamas students such as ASPHR Concordia again came together to physically block all access to the building while again chanting anti-Semitic slogans. We were trapped in the conference center for 4 hours while police were on site trying to get us out. On March 12, Jewish students in the Hillel Club Room, the only Jewish club room on campus, were harassed by masked individuals who were banging on the walls and chanting, "All Zionists are racist, all Zionists are terrorists." Again, Jewish students were trapped and traumatized. On April 8th and April 10th, an Israeli scholar was invited by the Israeli Institute to speak about the importance of Arab representation in the Israeli Knesset. In response, demonstrators physically blocked access to the classroom. Our greatest disappointment is that the leadership of Concordia has sat idly by, ducking and refusing to enforce its own policies and to step in to ensure the safety and well-being of Jewish students. The leadership seems intent on muzzling us and has certainly shown an insensitivity to our views and concerns. Our policy on campus safety and security forbids demonstrators from hiding their faces by wearing masks. Yet, at all events, the perpetrators were masked. And to date, they have faced no consequences. The administration has also not launched proceedings against the instigators of recent anti-Semitic demonstrations. We have, for example, indicated that a part-time student at Concordia since 2016 has broken our code of conduct and is on campus and is a known agitator. The student has been caught on film threatening and attacking students and staff on campus and has been arrested twice off campus since that incident. His posts on social media also call for violence against Jews, and I quote, that to Israel, kill them all, Allahu Akbar, bomb them. Yet the administration is turning a blind eye.
I'll interrupt you now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicole Nashin, please.
Viva, viva Intifada. Go back to Poland. Yemen, Yemen, make us proud, turn another ship around. Resistance is justified when people are occupied. These are just a few of the hateful chants heard blaring across campus that have caused myself and thousands of other students great pain and immense fear over the past 7 months. My name is Nicole Nashin, and I just finished my 2nd year of law school at McGill University. I am the granddaughter of immigrants who came to Canada seeking a better life for their children. My grandparents were so proud when I was admitted to McGill for law school, but are now horrified by the rampant anti-Semitism that I and my Jewish peers are experiencing on campus. Jewish students in Montreal have been intimidated by hateful posters glorifying violence and terrorism and protesters chanting for the destruction of our ancestral homeland. As Michael said, on October 8th, McGill and Concordia University funded clubs posted the following on Instagram, quote, "Last night, the resistance in Gaza led a heroic attack against the occupation and has taken over 30 hostages," end quote. These are the same groups that have been organizing the campus protests and the current encampment at McGill University. They have not tried to hide their hateful and anti-Semitic intent. Rather, our universities have chosen to turn a blind eye rather than stand up for their Jewish students. Selon une étudiante de l'Université de Montréal, et je cite, avant mater, where I served on the Concordia Student Union and as the president of Hillel, Jewish students were violently attacked during a tabling event to raise awareness for the hostages. They were assaulted by an anti-Semitic mob, only brought to an end by police intervention. Adam Gorin, VP Israel Affairs for Startup Nation Concordia, said, quote, "The events of November 8th fundamentally changed the way I felt on campus, making me feel unsafe and nervous to attend classes, constantly looking over my shoulder. This feeling has persisted to this day," end quote. The right to peaceful protest is a fundamental tenet of democracy, and criticizing the policies and actions of the Israeli government is not inherently anti-Semitic. Having said that, the sign on the McGill encampment facing Sherbrooke Street that reads "Agitate, escalate, shut it down" is not criticism of the Israeli government, nor is it peaceful. And the sign on the McGill encampment that reads "No Zionists Allowed" is overtly anti-Semitic. Zionism should not be controversial. It is simply the belief of Jewish self-determination in our indigenous homeland, and it does not preclude the existence of a Palestinian state too. While campus anti-Israel activists tolerate the religious aspects of Judaism, they have created a litmus test by which Jewish students are told we must denounce our affiliation to our ancestral homeland in order to be accepted. They do this by distinguishing us as Zionists. However, Judaism is more than just a religion. We are also a nation, an ethnic group, and a community. Our identity is a package deal that cannot be dismembered through Western standards. Thus, Jews as a religion have been deemed acceptable, while Zionists are demonized for refusing to conform and give up the package deal that is our identity.
Nicole, slow down a little bit. The interpreters are having a bit of a hard time, so it's okay. I'll give you a few extra seconds to slow down a little bit, because
campus protesters have simply replaced the word Jew with Zionist in order to make our exclusion and intimidation more palatable. Would a sign on McGill campus reading "No Jews Allowed" ever be tolerated? It is therefore essential that the Government of Canada recognize that the intimidation of Zionists is effectively the intimidation of Jews. Yes, there are some Jews who are not Zionists, and they are entitled to their own opinions. However, as Prime Minister Trudeau stated himself on Yom HaShoah, the vast majority of Jews are Zionists. It is an integral part of our identity, and it needs to be legally recognized as such, so that our peers cannot continue to use this label to exclude us from the universities that we deserve to be full members of. Unfortunately, our universities are currently failing to protect us. According to Elia Nissan and Julia Langleben, co-presidents of Startup Nation McGill, quote, "Despite McGill's commitment to inclusion and zero tolerance for hate on campus, they have completely failed to uphold the promises they've made to the McGill community," end quote. We did not get to this point overnight. The consistent failure of our universities to take action against the hate taking place on our campuses has emboldened anti-Israel activists to become more radical. Our universities must take a stand, and where they fail to adequately protect their Jewish students, they must be held accountable. Despite the intimidation of Jewish students on campus, we have consistently embodied the resilient flame of our ancestors who refused to give up their Judaism to be accepted in the diaspora. With us, we have the strength of every generation of Jews who chose to stand up against anti-Semitism and who persevered, and I'm confident that we will too.
you're under 5 minutes. That's law students. I was there. I get it. Thank you very much. Neil Oberman, please.
Hi, my name is Neil Oberman. I'm an attorney at Spiegel Sober in Montreal. I did prepare a speech, but after listening to these students, all of you should understand why this is so important. I, as a frontline attorney, have had the unfortunate pleasure, and I will tell you this unpleasure, to have had to gone to court to take out actions in order to protect these people who are here today. There is a message. Canadian values, les valeurs québécois sont sous attaque. Il y a un problème sérieux au take these cases and try to do something. You might have known that I took injunctions against McGill to try to get rid of the encampment. I'm not going to comment on the judgment. I'm not going to tell you whether it was right or wrong. The fact that it had to be taken in itself speaks loudly to what's going on. On March the 4th, 2024, I had to take an injunction in order to save our community. Now, I am no hero. These are the heroes. These people who come before you, who put their names out there, these are the people that we want to strive to protect. But there is a fundamental issue, ladies and gentlemen, parliamentarians, et je vous adresse tout le monde aux gens qui sont au Québec. the laws you want, and I'm sure you want to talk about that, and we're going to get into that. But if people don't respect the laws on the books currently, there is no value. Anti-Semitism is a sickness. It has to be eradicated. But here's what's more important that is a sickness: ignorance, inability to understand things. Legislators can't legislate love. They can't tell you how to think, but they can legislate against hate. And it's your jobs here today to legislate against hate. I'm not going to give you a course in law. You're the legislature. But I can tell you, every student that's come to me has said to me, Neil, why aren't people enforcing the law? The law of Concordia, the law of Dawson, the law of Vanier, the law of Canada, and the law of Quebec. We are a country of law. The rule of law is not to be trifled with. It is the core of our entity. I want to point out the top 10 worst list of things that I, Neil Oberman, besides these young people, had to deal with. A student goes to school in the morning. He gets dropped off by his mom. First thing that happens, a group of kids come to him and say, do you believe in Palestine? Are you against Israel? And he said no. And they started beating him. And what did the teacher supervising the children do? They said, keep beating him until he says Palestine. This is not what Quebec and Canada are about. I am concerned. You should be concerned. The future is not Neil Oberman. The future is Nicole and Rachel and Natty and Michael. They're the future. But when you take their future away, you take Canada's future away. And that is why I'm urging each and every one of you, when you look at what's going on, come down to the level of the students and see what they're doing. So the other issues that have been raised during, unfortunately, what I've been doing is people don't want to stand up. They're scared of being heard. And you know what I say, Mrs. Chairman? If you do nothing, you get nothing. I choose to do something. I am here. They are here. I applaud you. I'm not here for them. I'm here for you. And I can tell you this. When you go back and you deliberate on what's next for you to do, take three things into account. What does the law say? What do the students say? And what does your heart tell you? What does your heart tell you about what we as Canadians want to be doing? Do we want to have to do this? Est-ce que c'est nécessaire que les gens engagent un avocat? Because this association of students and your committee has the power. But there is no power by being quiet. So I'm going to stay within my time. I'm going to show you what the future is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a blank page. You have the opportunity, along with these people, to create a future for all of us that will be written not in blood, not in hate, but in love, that you can't legislate, but with respect. And you must understand that if we don't act now, we will not be able to stop the tide of anti-Semitism. It's an illness, and it's for this Parliament and our government to stop talking and start doing. Et moi, je suis ici jusqu'à la fin pour...
Natty Pressman, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the committee for this critical study on anti-Semitism. My name is Natty Pressman. I'm a first-generation Canadian Jew in my third year at Queen's University. I'm the first person in my family to be born in a country where I'm given the same rights as other citizens, despite the fact that I am Jewish. I've always been grateful for the opportunities and peace that Canada has given me and my family. However, that peace has been blemished by anti-Semitism. Although anti-Semitism has always been present in Canada, including at universities, and Jews have also consistently represented the community most frequently victimized by hate crimes, I've seen the situation get exponentially worse since October 7th. As Vice President of the World Union of Jewish Students, I observed a void in Canada, the absence of a national democratic organization for Jewish students. CUJS, the Canadian Union of Jewish Students, was established to fill this gap by creating a platform for Jewish students across Canada to elect representatives who can advocate for our interests and address our concerns with university administrators, governmental bodies, and Jewish and non-Jewish organizations. This need has never been greater. On October 7th, our Instagram feeds exploded with videos of Hamas's murderous assault on Israeli civilians. Our Jewish peers were horrified. They shared videos of Naama Levy forced into a jeep by a Hamas gunman, with blood staining the crotch of her sweatpants. Many non-Jewish students, instead, shared posts which celebrated the killings and purported to justify Hamas's barbarity as resistance in decolonization. A student at Queen's University wrote in a blog that it was a glorious day. That same student was given an award for equity. I remind the committee that these incidents of violence and outright incidents of hate speech were taking place before Israel had even responded to Hamas's murderous assault. Our universities should be places of learning, critical thinking, and respectful dialogue. Instead, they have become home to unsanctioned protests featuring anti-Semitic rhetoric. We frequently heard one solution, intifada, revolution. For Jews, the intifada were a series of suicide bombings that claimed the lives of up to 1,400 Israelis. Israelis like myself and the children of Israelis grew up learning how to stay away from unattended baggage in case it might be a bomb. Across the country, Jewish students who used to wear Jewish symbols, like a Magen David, now hide them as they walk past protests, including my friends who used to wear kippot, who now instead wear baseball caps going to class. This is not because we are any less proud to be Jewish, but because our universities have allowed an environment where being openly Jewish could be a threat to our safety. And we've had to have our Jewish pride be inside of us because we are scared of being physically harmed by other students on our campuses. Some CUJS members have relatives among the hostages in Gaza. Nonetheless, they are exposed to abuse that treats those murdered and taken hostage as perpetrators rather than the victims that they are. Student-led groups at Queen's, McMaster, University of Alberta, and others shared posts that accused Israel of fabricating reports of sexual assaults that the family members saw of female hostages. I have my own friends and own CUJS members who saw these posts while they have their own family members who are still in Hamas captivity, and those family members who are hostages are young women. First-year students living away from home for the first time feel unsafe in residence. At Dalhousie, a first-year Jewish student wrote "Never Again" in honor of Holocaust Remembrance Day on a personal whiteboard that every student was given outside of their dorm room. When they returned to their dorm, the word "never" was erased. At Queen's, first-year students have had over 5 mezuzot torn down in the Leggett residence building. This is just one singular building and repeated hate crimes that Jewish students have had to face. We have also seen frequent acts of Holocaust distortion, which is also incredibly concerning, not just because of Holocaust memory, but because of the rise of Holocaust denial, distortion, and the fact that many Canadian Jews are the descendants of Holocaust survivors. A nursing student at the University of Manitoba posted images equating the actions of Israel to those of the Nazis in the Holocaust. The Student for Justice in Palestine group at the University in Regina held posters saying one Holocaust does not equal another. Similar signage has been seen at many other rallies in Calgary, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, Saskatoon, and Halifax. All of these incidents result from the normalization of anti-Semitic rhetoric through inaction by university administrators, who fail to use even their own policies and their own code of conduct to act against anti-Semitism on their own campuses. Administrators are entitled to act when students or faculty create a poisoned campus environment, but we have seen little to no action taken. The increase in anti-Semitism is deeply troubling. Jewish students experience fear and anxiety. We as a society need to support them. We as Canadians need to support them, as Canadian values demand no less. With over 300 members from over 20 university campuses, CUJS will play its part in providing such support for Jewish students who face anti-Semitism on campus and beyond. But now it's your turn to uplift our voices so that all Jewish students in Canada will be able to feel safe in their places of learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Yos Tarshish, and apologies if I'm pronouncing any of the names incorrectly.
It's actually perfect.
Merci.
Honourable Chair and members of the committees, I appreciate your commitment to addressing the significant and growing challenge of hatred in our society, in particular the escalating rise in Jew hatred that we're experiencing on campuses. I'm here to speak up on behalf of thousands of students across this country, thousands of Jewish students. My name is Yos Tarshish. I'm the director of Hillel Queens, and I'm here representing Hillels on campuses all over the country. I've spent about 15 years deeply immersed in Jewish student communities in Canada and around the world, and this 10 years afforded me a broad insight into the patterns of anti-Semitism, particularly in a university setting, and it's allowed me to observe its fluctuations, to see when it rises and when it falls. Anti-Semitism is not a new or novel phenomenon here in Canada. From as early as the 1920s, Canadian Jews faced systematic barriers to entry into Canadian universities. Universities like McGill only rescinded their numerus clausus quota on Jewish students in the 1960s. In 2009, York University Jewish students had to barricade themselves inside their Hillel building to keep themselves away from a violent mob. And in 2022, Dr. Ayelet Cooper's landmark report into the anti-Semitism within the University of Toronto's Temety School of Medicine uncovered really deep-seated biases that show really how prejudice infiltrates even the most prestigious of academic institutions. Sadly, these are really just the tip of the iceberg, and Jewish students are facing really terrible things every single day. We're observing this anti-Semitism on campus take three main forms. The first is harassment, both verbal and social. The second would be physical and symbolic acts, and the third would be disqualification and exclusion. For the first, harassment, in February, a Jewish student walking on campus at York University had a picture taken of him from behind, and a picture was then uploaded onto TikTok, where thousands of comments mocked his choice of kippah, of his head covering. Thousands of comments. A story I shared yesterday in the press conference we held follows on from the story Nati shared about 5 mezuzahs being removed from residence buildings. In January, at the Residence Society General Assembly, which is the democratically elected student government for 6,000 students in Queen's Residence, when a question was asked by a first-year Jewish student, how will you, the candidates running for these...
Mr. Tarshish?
Sorry.
Go a bit slower.
Sorry. When at the Residence Society General Assembly, when candidates were asked by a first-year Jewish student, what are you going to do to fight anti-Semitism in residences, given that, at this point, 4 mezuzahs have been removed? No one gave a good answer, but the most disturbing thing was that an audible ripple of laughter went through the room the moment the question was asked. Anti-Semitic rhetoric is not limited to students. We've already heard terrible things coming out of professors and professors within their classrooms and outside. I think the one that really shocked me was when a Concordia professor, I think, showed up at McGill and screamed at Jewish students, "Go back to Poland, Shalmuta," which is an Arabic derogatory curse word. In terms of physical aggression, we've heard lots of examples of that tonight. At Western University, a student who had hosted a Jewish event came that night, had rocks thrown through her window of her student house, her private student home. Physical assaults and threats have become alarmingly common. I've seen several videos in the last weeks from university campuses that disturb me greatly. And the final bit is disqualification. And this, to me, is really the most pernicious form of anti-Semitism that we're seeing on campuses. And it's the core demand of this encampment movement right now. To remove all representations of Zionism from campus has become, the mask has slipped. We have gone from, we need a ceasefire, to Hillel must be removed from campus because Hillel is a Zionist cultural institution, also, say, CUPE 3903, the Union of TAs at York University, who provided TAs at York with a toolkit on how they could bring Palestine into the classroom, which included, as a recommendation, Hillel should not be allowed on campus. I remind you that we have been an organization serving Canadian Jewish students for more than 80 years. I'm proud to live in Canada, and it pains me to witness this trend in a country that is known for its inclusivity and diversity. While anti-Semitism is indeed an ancient hatred, its current resurgence on Canadian campuses is not merely a recurrence but an intensification, threatening the safety and well-being of Jewish students and, by extension, the integrity of our educational institutions. If we stand by while history's shadows lengthen into our halls of learning, we fail not only those directly affected, but also the very ideals of diversity, inclusion, and justice we aspire to uphold. The urgency to act is now. The cost of inaction is the well-being of our future generations here in this country. Let us not be the ones who look back and wish that we had done more when we had the chance. Let's ensure that all students, regardless of background or belief, can pursue their education in an environment free from intimidation and hate and fear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now open the floor for questions, and the way it works is we will start with 6-minute rounds for each of the 4 political parties, and I will begin with Mr. Morans, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have to say thank you to all of you for coming here and sharing your stories. I don't think anyone could hear them without really being horrified. And I just want to say how brave you all are to come here and tell your stories. I know it'll make a difference. And I can't help but feeling that this is an historic meeting, finally trying to deal with the issue of anti-Semitism in this country. Now, I want to say, Mr. Oberman, you talked about the blank page and moving forward and legislating, but I want to turn the clock back to October 7th and the interim period between then and now, because I think that the reality is that the actions of our government have not made things better. They've actually made things far worse. And I'm going to take you through a number of situations. So, for example, just after October 7th, the Prime Minister publicly scolded Israel and the IDF for bombing a hospital in Gaza without having all of the necessary information, and it came out after that it was actually misfired rockets from inside Gaza and that the IDF had nothing to do with it. Still, this is the Prime Minister of Canada. He directed his ambassador in the UN to vote for a blatantly anti-Israel ceasefire motion at the UN, siding with the anti-Israel UN mob. He rewarded Hamas by blocking arms sales to Israel after Hamas brutally murdered 1,200 civilians and took hostage over 200 more. Worse, he failed to remove the arms ban even after Iran launched a direct attack on Israel's territory with hundreds of missiles and drones. He rewarded Hamas by reinstating funding to UNRWA, even though UNRWA employees participated in the October 7th attacks. He failed to unequivocally condemn the frivolous genocide convention claim launched by South Africa and the IJC. And I think the worst thing of all of this is, because I was president in the House for it, is that he voted with his caucus, except present company accepted, for a motion in Parliament that actually punished our democratic ally Israel and rewarded the terrorists of Hamas. And worse than all of that, at the end of that vote, almost every Liberal, present company accepted, stood up and gave themselves a standing ovation with the NDP in the House of Commons because they were proud of the fact that they passed this motion. So I want to ask you, Mr. Oberman, would you agree that the actions, not just the inaction, but the actions of this Liberal government since October 7th has fanned the flames of anti-Semitism in Canada and exacerbated the problem on university campuses?
That is a great question, but you forgot one important thing, Mr. Morantz. When our Prime Minister invites into the House of Commons a place of democracy and justice, a former member of the Nazi Ukrainian party, you might want to not send that type of message to the people of Canada. I'm no politician, sir. I'm a simple lawyer trying to do a difficult job. I'm a collections lawyer by trade, but my community came to me on March the 4th and said, Neil, collect back our dignity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect back the dignity of our people. What I can tell you is people take a cue from their leaders, as they should. C'est très important de regarder qui est en It stokes the TikTok, it stokes the online hate. And you know what hate is? Hate is like a disease. And when you feed it with the wrong words and the wrong impressions, you create the atmosphere, and then you say, oh, we need to correct it. It's broken. It's broken because you broke it. So you now want to fix something that you broke? Great, but look at these poor students. Their entire university career is going to be marred by threats, by violence. What does that leave us in the future? It leaves us with a blank page. But, sir, I agree with you. Government must be more responsible because responsibility starts in your house. Clean up your house, and people will follow suit. Thank you.
Just want to, same question to Ms. Cook. Do you think that, given what I've outlined, that government has made the problem worse?
I think that the EDI system has made the problem worse. Like I stated, the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion meeting did not include Jewish people when they were discussing what to do about a Jewish person creating anti-Semitism on campus. I think it can start at the top, but it also starts in institutions and massively funding EDI programming that quite literally when I asked who decides who's in these EDI meetings, is it a percentage of population? Their response was, well, it's the groups that deserve equity and deserve inclusion. Well, who decides that?
I agree 100%. Mr. Ashak, do you agree with my assessment?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Ms. Pressman?
I would just like to say that the average Canadian who are on our campuses who are spewing hatred against Jews aren't necessarily supportive of the actions that the government have taken because they think they're not enough. The persons who are calling for an intifada until revolution still think our government is too pro-Israel. So I think that while we're talking about particular policy, I also want to keep in mind that that's really the reality on our campuses, and I think that we need to work towards talking about how we can actually deal with anti-Semitism on our campus. Regarding EDI, I think that what we should do is try to incorporate more Jews into EDI, because I think we deserve to be in those spaces rather than get rid of them as a whole.
Thank
If I
you.
have 1 second
Time's
left,
up,
Ms.
Mr.
Nashon,
Morantz.
do you agree?
Mr. Morantz,
you.
time's up. I will now go to Mr. Housefather, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much. Oh. Is my mic on, Madam Chair?
Is your mic on?
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for being here. I asked for this study to happen. I moved this motion for this study because I believe the vast majority of Canadians are good and care very much about our Jewish communities, and they don't understand what's happening on campus. And I was very much hoping for a nonpartisan study that would allow the voices of Jewish students to come forward. That was what these meetings were meant to do, and that's what I intend to use my time on my questions to ask for. I want to hear about your experiences. So, Ms. Nashon, when you see a sign at your campus at the encampment that McGill has declared on multiple occasions is in violation of McGill's code of conduct, no Zionists allowed, do you feel welcome at McGill?
My grandfather was born in a refugee camp outside of Yemen in the British protectorate of Aden because Jews were being persecuted, and my grandmother was born in Morocco when Jews were being persecuted. And Israel was the only country that took them in. So I would not be alive today if it was not for the state of Israel. So when I see a sign on my campus saying no Zionists allowed, that means no Jews allowed. That is terrifying.
Ms. Pressman, when you hear the words "from the river to the sea" that are being chanted on campus, what does that mean to you?
To me, it means the annihilation of the state of Israel and a complete denial of historical fact about Jews belonging to the state of Israel. And for me, a lot of people who are saying it are the same people who often engage in other violent chants, such as Intifada until revolution. That's how it feels to me. And so Israel has always been my homeland, and it's the homeland of my family. It's the place that my grandfather faced intimidation for by the KGB because he was a proud Zionist, because he wanted to move to Israel. And those sayings deny what Israel's done for my family and what Israel's done for other Jews, including those in this room.
Ms. Cook, when you hear globalize Intifada, there's only one solution, Intifada revolution, what does it mean to you when you walk onto University of Alberta campus?
For the first time in my life, it makes me question if I belong in this country.
Mr. Eshayak, when you walk by the McGill illegal encampment and you get told to go back to Iraq, or other people are told to go back to Poland, what does that make you feel that people are saying?
I want to say about the encampment at McGill. I went there once or twice to see what's going on there, and I stood far away, and like you said, a bunch of people came to me, a bunch of jihadists came to me and said, go back to Europe, go back to Europe. I said, but my family is from Iraq. So they said, so go back to Iraq. Unfortunately, I can't go back to Iraq.
That's pretty much every Jew has been expelled from Iraq.
Iran, from almost every Arab country. Also, when I came back home, I found out that they made a video again against me, a 3-minute video just about me.
I just want to know how you felt. So does it make you feel excluded?
I felt threatened and excluded.
Thank you. Ms. Nashon, when you were at McGill and you see McGill professors going to the illegal encampment and supporting the people doing the encampment, how does that make you feel if you have to go to a class being taught by that professor?
I took public international law last semester, and my professor signed a letter that said, "We reject the notion that it's anti-Semitic to contextualize the October 7th attacks." On October 7th, my aunt and uncle hid in their home on Kfar Aza for 30 hours as Hamas terrorists massacred their village. 10% of their village was massacred. Their house does not exist anymore. It is rubble. And they hid in their safe room for 30 hours, and we had no contact with them. We didn't know if they were alive, and we didn't know if they were hostages, and there is no context for that. But I had to go back to that class for the rest of the semester.
And when you went to complain to the administration at McGill, did they treat you with any respect and dignity in terms of this complaint, or did they basically disregard your comments?
Each office that I went to told me that it was a different office's jurisdiction. I spent about 2 weeks going from the Dean of Students' office to the Accessibility office, who sent me back to the Dean of Students' office, who sent me back to the Accessibility's office, and they just were not able to fix my issue, and I was forced to go back to a class that I felt unsafe in because nobody could help me.
Ms. Cook, when you asked for a menorah, which seems to be a very simple request to display a menorah, a Jewish symbol of hope at Hanukkah, and instead, the university took down the Christmas trees. Did people around you blame the Jew for having deprived them of Christmas?
They did until I went to the media. And then I think my story got out there. But it shows they're willing to subject Jewish students to anti-Semitism and hurt Christian students at the same time to make sure that they don't look like they're supporting Jewish students or Israel.
Ms. Pressman, you're the founder of a national organization. Do the interactions with Jewish students and administrators when they have issues like this, based on the story that Ms. Nashon and Ms. Cook told, seem familiar to you in terms of what your membership is dealing with when they complain to administrations?
We've had students who have had the same situation where they're just told that it's another person's jurisdiction, and these are things that last for months. And then by the time when they're told to go meet with the right person, it's apparently too late to deal with that incident. It's very similar to what we're hearing across campuses across the country where Jewish students feel unsafe. And when they actually try to use university support and try to use university staff to support them, they're not helped at all. And they're put in the wrong direction multiple times.
Mr. Tarshish, based on your experience
Mr.
of Jewish students...
Housefather, that's 6 minutes.
Am I done? I'm done.
Yes, thank you. Monsieur Fortin, s'il vous plaît. 6
Merci,
minutes.
Madame.
Monsieur Fortin, est-ce que vous pouvez réagir?
That in French or in English? So
Let me
I apologize for that,
suspend
but-
for a minute, please.
Oui.
So suspended.
Mr. Fortin, we're back. Total reboot on the technology, and we can get going now. So go ahead. You have a full 6 minutes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With your permission, I'd like to first of all thank all the students that are with us today. I agree with what Mr. Lauren had said earlier, that this requires courage to come and present before House of Commons committee to share situations which are unacceptable, quite traumatizing. Is the interpretation still not working? 1, 2, 3? Yes, no? Off the air again. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Oberman, but, you know, the interpreter's there for a reason. The clerk, apparently it's coming through to the clerk's headset, so perhaps it's... Once again, from the top, Mr. Fortin. Well, Ms. Cook apparently is not getting the interpretation. Perhaps a little technical assistance in setting up her listening station?
Oui,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Interpretation is very important to our committee as elsewhere, but apparently, perhaps it's a faulty earpiece or... No, we're not talking about anti-Semitism. We're talking about anti-technology here. So excuse me, but I have to insist on that. No apologies, please. It's not your fault.
to us, and everyone should be able to understand what we're saying, even in French or in English. Oui. Donc, je disais que le bilinguisme...
All right. So I was saying bilingualism is very important in the House of Commons. It's coming through now? Excellent. Okay. I have to wait. Chair is occupied.
Sur la télévision, ça marche bien.
Ah ouais?
Ouais.
Apparently, it's coming through on the television stations as well, so that's no problem. I suppose it might depend on what you're saying.
Is it working? Monsieur Fortin, est-ce que vous pouvez...
Oui.
Okay, Mr. Fortin. I'll start again. I'm in French. Bilingualism is important in the House of Commons, and we are all very pleased that we can express ourselves in either English and French and be understood. Do I need to keep rattling on? No? Well, I can sing if you would like. Okay, I'll carry on. I don't know what to talk about unless we get back to the topic in hand. It's a lovely day outside. Okay. Are we good, Mr. Hellfather? Well, I given my earpiece, and apparently it works. This is new units that we're using here. There's still a little fine-tuning, I guess, to be done. Is everyone capturing the interpretation? Well, I hear it very, very well.
Et moi, je ne suis...
And I'm just absolutely zero as far as technology goes. So, no, I hear you clearly, Mr. Fortier. Fortin. Can I start back? Do I get my full 6 minutes? Yes. Once again, I apologize, first of all, for the inconvenience, but bilingualism on the Hill is a principle that we respect, and we try to make sure rigorously apply it. Bon, for the third time, I'm very pleased to see all these students here who came to testify on the situation which we all find horrible, the stress and strain that you're living through on campus. A university campus is a place to learn, to exchange, where we should all feel free to exchange all points of view, with vigor if we need to, that's fine, but respectfully. And situations that you've described are far from respectable and are totally inappropriate and unacceptable. I agree with Professor Oberman, with all that he said. Particularly, it stung when he said it's important that you make law, but you have to respect law. That's a fundamental truth. We have a criminal code that's fairly heavy. We can keep adding offenses infinitum, but this will not resolve, in my humble opinion, the underlying problem or what we see on the ground. As legislators, we have a responsibility, a severe and serious, to provide a model of respect in our dialogue, our discussions. But there have been, I could give you some examples of very vulgar, unparliamentary, undignified language, or any Canadian citizen. It happens here, in public, sometimes on the Hill, and it should never happen, but it does occur. It's unfortunately a partial tendency of this rising of coarse, rude, crude language pretty much everywhere today. And it's particularly true currently on the campuses. Sorry for the preamble, but I have to give you my point of view. Okay, that being said, Master Oberman, I'd like to hear from all of you, of course. This is totally unacceptable. That's fine, and we agree with you. But to each and every one of you, what do you think is the underlying cause of all this? Why is this happening right now? October the 7th, of course, put a match to the fuse. But on university campuses in Canada, you obviously must be discussing things that you feel strongly about without becoming a victim and target for this type of behavior, this harassment, this attack. So why is this happening? What's your opinion on that?
So I think a lot of it has to do with Jew hatred. I think, look, I'm always saying it. I think I'm more pro-Palestinian than the people that are screaming the things that they're screaming, because I actually want the people in Gaza to have a decent life. But in order to do so, we have to get rid of Hamas. And I didn't see these people standing outside and screaming and chanting when Syria murdered 500,000 Arabs, or when Egypt didn't open the borders for the people of Gaza. I didn't see them going on the streets and then protesting about it. So I think it has everything to do with Jew hatred, and it has nothing to do with the people in Gaza. And it's sad to see it. I also think that once you let criminals commit crimes without any consequences, they will continue making crimes. So I think once we'll see university administrations, university presidents taking steps and doing something against it, we will be able to stop it. So we have to make sure that the university presidents are going to do something, are standing up against the criminals. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Ishayek.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nash, you have...
In Western society, that Jews are white and white people are the oppressors. But Jews are not white. We're an indigenous people that come from the land of Israel, and we are demonized as being the oppressors on campus, such that people don't want to partake in conversation with us, and they're able to label us as Zionists rather than as Jews, to make that the ills of the world. We see this throughout history. Jews have been demonized through the ills of the world. We were communists and we were capitalists and we were vermin and we take over democratic institutions, and today we're called Zionists.
Merci. Juste peut-être rapidement, Madame Nash.
Is there a distinction between the Canadian Jewish diaspora here, or the Jewish community in Israel and elsewhere in the world, and the state, the government of Israel? Do you, or does everybody confuse and it's the same?
People from political parties who are all Canadians and don't all have the same opinions on the actions of the Canadian government. So why would it be the same for Jews and for Israelis?
Merci. Thank you. Mr. Garrison, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm going to have a shorter preamble, I hope, than Mr. Fortin. That would be the normal practice. But I want to start by joining Mr. Housefather in saying that when I voted in favor of this study, I naively assumed that this committee might be able to set aside relentless partisanship to shine a light on this problem and to search for solutions. And so I am disappointed at some of the early things that have happened in this room, and I hope we will get our focus back onto the problem of anti-Semitism and the problems that Jewish students are facing. I am not surprised, as anyone who has ties to the Jewish community. I have ties in my riding, and I have long historic family ties to Jewish communities. But it's still shocking to hear all of you here from your various backgrounds and various institutions reporting the same thing happening in Canada. And so I thank you for bringing this to the public attention, and I thank you for taking the risk that you're taking personally, because I know there's a personal risk of retaliation and harassment as a result of being here today, and I don't think we should minimize that at all. So we owe you a debt of thanks for being here. I particularly want to hear what you have to say about this problem, rather than make a long speech myself. And I know that at the beginning, a couple of you didn't get to quite finish your remarks, so I'm going to actually give an opportunity, without asking you a specific question. I'm going to go to Mr. Ishayek first, and anything that you didn't quite get to do within that time, and I'll make the same available to others.
So, first of all, thank you. One thing that I wanted to say is something that I wanted to tell you about something that happened to me. The other day, I went to the McGill encampment to watch it, and when I came back home, I found out that there is a video, a 3 minutes, full 3 minutes video about me, pictures of me, videos of me, on Instagram with more than 100,000 views posted by the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas students, saying that I'm dangerous, that I'm an ex-IDF soldier, and if you see me on the street, call the police. And I'm an international student, so they told people to file complaints against me to the immigration system, so they will not renew my study permit or my student visa. So I had, together with my friend Anastasia, she's here too, we had to hire private security to protect ourselves. And I will never forget the moment, November 2023, after the November 8th incident, I got a phone call from my mother saying, come back to Israel, it's safer here than in Canada. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I think it's on. Oh, perfect. Thank you for giving the opportunity. I just wanted to end my speech with an invitation. If you don't like what you're seeing here, I would love to have you help me. I was offered by the institution last year to have a menorah lighting in a side room. So let's do that next year. Come, join me, light a menorah, bring your trees. Je pense que la culture canadienne, française.
I believe that Canadian culture, French or English, is accepted by the universities, and we have to include.
Tired of this. So bring your trees, let's light some menorahs, and let's make campuses safe for Christians, Jews, and every other student who doesn't feel safe now.
Thank you. Mr. Tarshish.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One thing that, a question that was asked before, which is like, why is all of this happening? And I just want to talk about a few other pieces, which is, firstly, Jew hatred is obviously, anti-Semitism exists in society. We swim in it. It's just, you know, systemic. It's always been there. It's 2,000 years old. It's going to take a long time to get rid of it. That's why we at Hillel talk about pushing anti-Semitism to the margins of campus, not getting rid of it, because it's not reality, and we have to ground ourselves in the reality. There will always be extremists, there will always be people with terrible opinions, but the thing that most concerns me is the rampant misinformation and disinformation that is spreading amongst young people, driven basically by young people not engaging with critical thinking. A great phrase I learned recently, constellation of belief.
J'ai entendu parler de constellation de croyances. Alors, si je connais une de vos croyances, une étoile, un élément, je connais les 20 autres éléments. Si je crois ceci, je crois automatiquement cela. Je pense que c'était un campement américain qui a vu un étudiant dire « Vous devriez savoir que la République démocratique de Corée forme des Palestiniens. » Ils ont toujours été solidaires avec les Palestiniens. Le message sous-entendu, c'est que la Corée du Nord est du bon côté. Voilà, il faut mettre l'accent sur la pensée critique, surtout chez les jeunes gens.
This situation where young people don't need to know history, don't need a basic history, like really basic things are shocking to me.
I'm going to give the same opportunity to Ms. Pressman and then Ms. Nash.
Anti-Semitism has always been a conspiracy myth, and where it puts the Jew in the position as what is considered evil in society. And societies change, and what we consider evil changes. And I think it's great that we have more of a cultural awareness of discrimination and of hatred towards all people. But Jews, because of the way anti-Semitism functions, are put as the oppressor, which is what is considered evil in our society. And that's a good thing that we're being aware of discrimination and oppression, but Jews are put in the position where we are seen as helping that. And that's why I think there's a lot of anti-Semitism in society and how it continues to kind of be that way.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Thank you. We will now go to our second round, notre deuxième tour, and we will start with Madame Landsman. 5 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for coming. I think that there is going to be a lot of people that look up to you from now on, and I hope that you give them the voice and the courage that you've had today to come here. I appreciate that some people don't want to make this partisan, but I want you to know that there are members of the House of Commons who have been at those encampments. And there are people that have a voice that actually sit at the table that have made it more dangerous to be a Jew in the country. And there are some people that speak out of both sides of their mouth that sit in the powers of government. And there are some people who do not have a seat at the table who say all of the right things in the right venues, and do not be fooled by them. Now, I want to know if, just a quick yes or no, do you feel safe on campus, Rachel?
No.
Do you feel safe on campus? No. Do you feel safe on campus?
No.
Nicole, do you feel safe on campus?
No.
Do you think that the government has done enough to protect Jewish students or have anybody enforce the law on campus? Just a yes or no.
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 No. How many, just an estimation, how many Canadian flags have you seen at any of these protests on campus?
Not just at protests, very, very few, if not any, Canadian flags at all.
0.
I've not seen any.
0. What an abject failure, first of all, by universities, and an abject failure by the government, frankly, to hold them to account by the money that they provide in granting councils, in Canada Research Chair money, in operational funding at all. What an abject failure by the government to call this out for what it is. I just want to show you something. This is a member of Parliament who stood with somebody who denies the Holocaust, with somebody who denies October 7th, who stood with you at a press conference yesterday. This is two ministers in our government that have a voice at the table. Do you think pictures like this help? Yes or no? Rachel?
No.
Last time I checked, I don't have to say yes or no. I don't think that's necessarily relevant to what we're discussing right now. Obviously, the community is harmed by that picture, but I think, okay.
I'd like to be asked a question about my experience on campus.
Yeah, sure.
Neil? I just want to bring you into this discussion.
Well, the problem here is that when people speak out of both sides of their mouth, they give no answers. And the reality is that's why I had to go to court to get a neutral arbiter to make a decision to help these people. And every time I look at these poor students, I think to myself, what has Canada come to? How is it that when I open my door in the morning and I look outside, je ne reconnais pas ma ville. I don't know where I live. But I will tell you this. Forget about the politics for a moment. Let's talk about what the police are doing. How is the policy not being put in place for police to enforce existing laws? Why is it that in 2024, it's sad that we need a committee to have these students come here so that you hear what's happening? I will leave you with this. Words have meaning. When people say things that are not right, they impact us all. I want to point out to this honourable committee that on March the 4th, words had many meanings, but more importantly, bombs, threats, violence, aggression, that is in Canada. C'est pas de Quebec, c'est pas Canada.
It's not Quebec, it's not Canada.
For certain, Mrs. Landsman, if these young people leave, there will be no committee in the future. This is your future. These are your people. Please, whatever you do, stop what's going on. McGill is an example of what happens when you do nothing. You cannot sit on a fence, act neutral, and eat chocolate and expect things to solve themselves. This isn't partisanship. This is reality.
I want to know if you believe that the government's rhetoric and its policy choices have done anything to protect the Jewish community, or has it put them in danger?
I'm going to be clear for everybody here, and I'm no politician. I'm just a simple lawyer. You can think what you want. But when you look at action and you look at reaction, you have your answer. Because everything that you see here is a result of a void that's created. And when there's ambiguity, people who hate, people who don't like, they take advantage of this. And what they do is they take it as a cue to continue with their actions. When you send a bad message, you get a bad reaction. Who's responsible for that? Government.
Perfect. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Mr. Mendicino for 5 minutes, please.
I'm going to start by thanking each and every one of the students who have come before this committee. In a time of great anxiety, darkness, fear, and anger, you are all a beacon of hope and optimism and courage. And you are role models. And I have no doubt that at the end of this exercise, not only will we have emerged as a stronger country, but each and every one of you will do your families very proud. I want to start by just saying that. You guys are incredible. You're an inspiration. I am going to read from Concordia University's Values and Mission Statement website. It says the following. Concordia values a secure and respectful learning environment and workplace. Concordia is committed to promoting a healthy, safe, and sustainable campus and to enhancing the quality of life of the community in which we live. I'm sure that other schools have similar policies in place. I'm going to go from left to right. Ms. Nashin, do you believe that your school is living up to that mission statement?
No.
Ms. Pressman? No. Mr. Ashayak?
I'm a Concordia student, and when I hear that, I don't know if I should laugh or I should cry.
Ms. Cook?
No.
And finally? As Jewish students, do you believe that in the course of your experience, particularly over the last several months, that your right as Jewish people to self-determination has been undermined? Ms.
Yes.
Clear.
Just undermined, openly mocked.
I'm not a student, but I work with students, and yes, I see it every single day.
In the course of your experience and as Jewish students or active members of university campuses, have you heard others claim that the existence of the State of Israel is a racist endeavor?
At the encampment, I've repeatedly heard the chant, "All Zionists are racists, all Zionists are terrorists."
Mr. President.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
In the course of your experience, have you heard the Jewish people accused of exaggerating the Holocaust?
Yes.
I think I'm going to answer that question also because it wasn't directed to students. The problem that we've seen is that people use social media in order to put out falsities and narratives in order to support and fuel their hatred. And so the answer is not only yes, look at the law prohibits it, but nobody's enforcing it, and that's the problem. Thank you.
Yes, several times.
Yes, and openly deny.
Yes.
In the course of your experience, have you heard people celebrate October 7th and celebrate Hamas?
Yes.
Not only celebrate, sir, they promote, they strategize on how to use it as a tool to continue to oppress not only these students, but anybody who loves democracy and freedom. And it is happening in our country right now, and it's regrettable.
Thank you.
Again, last night, the resistance in Gaza led a heroic attack against the occupation and has taken over 30 hostages. I don't even need to read it because I remember it. It was on October 8th by ASPHR Concordia. And ASPHR Concordia is still a club, and the students are still students with no consequences. Nothing.
I will never forget hearing on October 8th the chant, "There are no civilians."
Yeah, incredibly concerning. I would also point you to the fact that Jewish students are seeing. Sorry, I had something and it's gone.
It's okay. Have you heard that individuals have tried to diminish or suggest that these are isolated incidents? And is that consistent with what you've seen? In other words, is this pervasive? Is this occurring consistently, daily, in your schools, in your communities?
In March, at McGill University, someone walked around campus for over 4 hours with a sign that said, "On October 7th, Israel massacred its own people to justify genocide."
Social media has been used in order to continue with this false narrative. And by the way, in our injunctions, a majority of our evidence emanated from their own videos in which they glorify hatred, violence, and then I have to show it to a judge so the judge understands what's going on. So the answer is yes, yes, and unfortunate.
Okay, merci, Monsieur Mendicino. Now we will go to Monsieur Fortin, 2.5 minutes.
On n'a pas le temps pour davantage. Il reste une demi-heure, Madame le Président.
Well, we have a whole half hour ahead. We could do a full round. It depends. Okay. I've heard all of the answers and the questions from my colleague, Member Mendicino. So I'd like to know what you feel that the universities should do in response to this situation.
Policies.
How to implement? Comment? Qu'est-ce que concrètement?
Yes, but concretely, what should they do?
Received an email from McGill University every single day saying that there was an illegal encampment on our university. Having said that, a week and a half later, it's still there.
Merci, Maître Oberman.
Mr. Oberman, well, you have to stop believing that we can soothe everybody. We can't be neutral in this situation. And McGill is very clear. The rules exist. they should be followed, but there has to be some will to do so. Without the motivation to do something, nothing will happen. Do you support the injunction? You know what they answered me? We're not the ones that put forward the injunction.
Happen.
Merci. Je m'excuse, mais il me reste comme une minute. Madame Pressman, votre...
Ms. Pressman, I only have a minute left. What should their stance be, their attitude vis-a-vis this deplorable situation?
Universities are not properly upholding our rights as students. There needs to be they also need to be using their own policies, but they need to be very clear about how anti-Semitic incidents should be dealt with, so we're not put in the situation where for months we're being tossed around to different departments. And they also need to be using their own student code of conduct and understand that even if hateful speech isn't the same as hate speech, it should still be seen as dangerous to the Jewish student community. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an easy answer. I think the university has to enforce its own policies and bylaws. If a student pushed a police officer on campus, threatened students...
You're a bit close to the microphone, I'm told by the interpreters. They can hear you. Just
yes.
Move away from the microphone.
Can you hear me? Okay. If a student pushed a police officer on campus, if a student the same student threatened the life of students, of other students, physically attacked other students, was arrested twice since the incident, and he is still a student at Concordia University, I don't know what to say anymore.
Madame Cook.
Madame Cook.
Reactive. If you...
How to be proactive.
Yes, the university... Instead of having students have to make complaints, cultivate an environment where people do not feel empowered to behave as openly and as freely as they do now with their hateful and divisive views.
Thank you, Mr. Fortin. Merci. Mr. Garrison, 2.5 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I'm going to give some time to Ms. Nation to add anything she wants to this debate, because I feel like our format sometimes really restricts those who are presenting. So I'll start by doing that.
I want to talk about a protest that took place at McGill University at the end of March, where a crowd of protesters, as they do at all protests, were chanting "Viva Viva Intifada." And I asked a senior administrator at McGill if saying we should kill all, insert group here, people, would that violate the McGill Code of Conduct? And they said yes. And I said, why does calling for intifada not violate the McGill Code of Conduct? They said, because calling for the genocide of a group of people explicitly violates the law. And so therefore it violates the Code of Conduct. But where the law fails to protect us as Jewish students, our universities provide no extra protections.
Ms. Pressman.
That I'm here on behalf of the Canadian Union of Jewish Students. CUJS is a nonpartisan organization that has multiple students who are involved in different political parties. At the end of the day, when we see a sign calling for an intifada, at the end of the day, when we are excluded from our classes and we face violence, every single Jewish student is affected, regardless of the fact if they're NDP, Liberal, Bloc, Green, or Conservative. We are all equally affected by this, and in my role here, I want to raise awareness about the fact that we are all dealing with this. I may have my own opinions, other people may have their own opinions, but I'm here talking on behalf of Jewish students. And yes, there is a feeling that we could get more support from the government. That is true. Some of us do feel that way. But we're working together to combat this hatred because everyone in this room here cares about anti-Semitism on campus. And I'm here on behalf of Canadian Union of Jewish Students to work with all of you, regardless of any partisanship that may be in this room. So thank you.
And Ms. Cook.
I just want to say that I hope the University of Alberta starts taking a proactive approach, bringing students together. We are a nation of two languages, many, many cultures, and many, many differences of opinion. And if the university had been on the week after October 7th proactive about bringing people together in a good faith attempt to have discussions, this may not have happened, and it wouldn't be to the point where I physically dread walking onto campus every day.
Thank you. Mr. Shai.
I just wanted to make one thing clear. What we're doing here today and what me and my friends are doing since October 7th, we're not doing it only for the Jewish community. We're doing it for all the communities. Today it's about the Jews, tomorrow it's another minority. We have to solve it now. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to Mr. Van Poptap for 5 minutes, please.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all the witnesses for being here today. I'm shocked to hear about anti-Semitism. I was raised by Dutch immigrant parents who left the Netherlands after World War II, and I was raised on stories about Dutch people protecting Jewish people, hiding them sometimes for years on end, the Dutch resistance against the Nazi occupiers. My grandfather died in a Nazi concentration camp for his defense of Jewish people. So that's what I was raised on. And I thought anti-Semitism was dead, but obviously I'm naive about these sorts of things. I was very shocked, as was the whole world, about what happened in Israel on October 7th. But now I got to tell you, I'm also very, very shocked as to what's going on at campuses in Canada that I thought was a free and democratic nation, and a country of the rule of law, where the laws should be enforced. So I'm shocked to hear these stories, and thank you for your bravery, for your courage, for standing up for everything that is right and decent. But I do have a question. I think I'll direct it at Nicole. Ned, you've equated, I thought it was a very interesting analysis, equating being Jewish and being Zionist, and anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, you're equating them. But here's my question for you. In an environment of free speech, free expression, is there room for right-thinking people to be critical of the modern state of Israel today and the way it is conducting itself in the Middle East, and in particular in the war in Gaza right now?
In August last summer, before October 7th, I was in Israel, and one of my proudest moments ever to be Jewish was going with my cousins to the protest in Tel Aviv. Jewish people always like to argue and have lots of different opinions on the actions of the Israeli government, and that does not make us any less Zionist or any less proud in our homeland. Natan Sharansky has 3 Ds of anti-Semitism: demonization, delegitimization, and double standard. You can criticize the actions and the policies of the Israeli government without saying that Jews don't have the right to live there.
Thank you. And do you hear that level of discourse in your university today, or is it more of these protests that we're hearing about?
2 years ago, long before October 7th, when I was the president of Hillel at Concordia, I had been sharing a lot about my activism and about the activities that we were doing at Hillel on campus, and I posted that we were going to be tabling in the Hall building. This was 2 years before October 7th. For hours, every 30 minutes, groups of people would come up from behind us and put stickers all over the material that we were giving out that said boycott Israeli apartheid. Finally, after about 3 hours of this happening repeatedly, 2 individuals came to find me who I'd never seen before, but I had been stalked on Instagram by accounts like Intifada 1999. They came to find me and they said, "Nikki Nashin, why do you support Israeli apartheid?" To which I responded, "I've never met you before. How do you know my name?"
Good, thank you for that. I have another question. I'm not sure to whom to direct it, but it's this concept of equivalency. We often hear from Canadian leaders that when they talk about anti-Semitism, they also mention Islamophobia. And I just wonder if that is at all helpful to the conversation about how we manage anti-Semitism. Maybe Mr. Oberman, to you.
I think that's an excellent question. I thank you for posing it, because, to make something legitimate, it doesn't have to be posed against something else. Let me give you the example. The moon and the sun, they both exist, not at the same time. One rises, one sets. But I can tell you this, when you try to say anti-Semitism must be the flip side of something, it delegitimizes it. It says it cannot exist onto itself. It must have something else to make it legitimate. I reject it. It's false. It's a narrative that is exactly what Nicole said. There's always a way to wrap your explanations. It's anti-Semitism, but it's not. It's anti-Islamophobia, but it's... The reality is this, sir. Anti-Semitism can exist by itself. It exists by itself. It has for 5,784 years. There are greater people out there who have tried to destroy the Jewish population. They have enslaved the Jews. They have murdered the Jews. But here's one thing that's not going to happen. And this is the message for each of you. These people are our future. We will not accept it. We will not tolerate it. If you want to create new laws, start enforcing the existing laws, and maybe we'll get somewhere.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Where am I? Mr. Bruson, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. I come to this table in perhaps a unique situation for the people at this table because I'm not only a Jewish woman, but I am a mother, a Jewish mother of 2 Jewish students on university campuses in North America right now. So I actually do want to say that I really thank all of the students for coming here and speaking. I have indirectly, but through my children, been living that reality, and it is so important that you come. And I want to thank Anthony for having really spearheaded this study, because I think it's really important that we take that moment. So I just wanted to put that there. And if I feel emotional, it's because I am. This is personal, just as it is for you. Yesterday I heard, and I think you have mentioned in some of your speeches, about holding events, Jewish events, and then being told that they can't happen in that way or seeing them disrupted. So I was going to use an example, and maybe if I can start with Nati, but an example of Holocaust Remembrance Day. Were you at Queen's able to commemorate Holocaust Remembrance Day in the same way as you would have in past years? No. And what was the reason that you were unable to do so?
We were told it wasn't safe for us.
And did security from the university or the university administration talk to you about what they could do to make you safe so that you would be able to go ahead as you normally would?
We took every precaution possible that they told us to take.
All right. If I can ask Nicole, I don't know if you had the same experience on McGill campus, but did you see Holocaust Remembrance Day recognized in the same way as in past years at McGill this year? Yeah. And how was it different?
I don't know of any event that took place.
Okay. And just, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you know why it wouldn't, like, has it happened in past years? Do you know why it was different this year?
It has happened in past years.
Okay, thank you. And if I can ask the other 2 students, maybe starting with Rachel.
This is my first year at the University of Alberta, so I don't know if Holocaust remembrance occurrences have happened in previous years, but the day that I walked by the art display with a swastika on it was Holocaust Remembrance Day this year.
All right, thank you. And Mikael?
I cannot answer this specific question, but I can tell you that when we're trying to have events on campus, Concordia, Graham Carr, the administration are telling us that it's not safe for us. The last event we tried to have was the screening of the Nova Festival movie, and we were asked to pay $500 for security guards.
Okay, thank you. If I can ask, on behalf of Hillel Canada, have you seen any universities in Canada who've been getting it right and that have been doing the right actions to protect Jewish students on campus?
Nobody has been doing enough. I'll start by saying that. I work at Queen's, and I have great relationships throughout the university administration. I meet with people regularly. Do I feel like they're doing enough? No, and I tell them that regularly. I hear from colleagues that often administrators are friendly. They want to help, but they have no idea. We are in a situation where the blind is leading the blind. No one knows what to do, and it shows.
Okay, thank you. Just because I don't have much time, and I wanted to ask about, it's come up a few times, DEI policies. And does it properly include Jewish voices as part of it? I see Nicole had her hand up, so maybe if I can start with you.
I think that it is important that rather demonizing EDI policies as a package, we need to include Jews in those EDI policies. My grandfather was born in Yemen. My grandmother was born in Morocco. I am not white. And the Jews that might appear white here are not white either, because when the Holocaust happened and all of them had the same color skin as everyone else in Eastern Europe, they were still gassed and burned because they were not considered white enough for that society.
I am under 30 seconds, so I'm going to ask people to put in written submissions, if you can, about how to better include Jewish voices in DEI policies. But if I can ask quickly, Nati, because you had your hand up, and I don't know if you might be able to speak to it, about including also safe spaces intersectionally when we're looking at DEI policies, if you might have something to add on that.
My funding at my university goes to an initiative for queer people to feel safe. That same club posts images supporting October 7th. I don't feel safe in queer spaces, and I should be feeling safe in those spaces. And our funding, my student funds, should go to those places to make sure that I feel safe with them, because I can't take away one part of my identity. It's all my identity. I'm this one person, and I can't check it at the door because it's who I am.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Looking at the time, I can go 3 minutes each per each of the four parties, and I need about 3 minutes for committee business as well. So I'm going to ask Ms. Gladue to start.
Very good. So the federal government has a responsibility to put criminal code in place to set the law and to ensure that it's enforced. And so in the criminal code, it's an offense to advocate or promote genocide, to publicly incite hatred in a way that's likely to lead to a breach of the peace, to willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group, to willfully promote anti-Semitism, or to commit mischief related to certain forms of property that's motivated by bias, prejudice, or hate. And yet all of these things are happening across the country. And if we have heard from your testimony about the things that are happening on campus, we could add to that the blocking at Avenue Road of critical infrastructure, which is also illegal. We could add the blocking of the road in front of Mount Sinai Hospital, which was also illegal. And in all of these cases, we do not see universities enforcing their code of conduct. We do not see the police arresting people for committing what are crimes. And also, the federal government has not taken an action to ensure that the rule of law is enforced. Do you agree with my assessment? Start with Rachel.
Yes, perfect. I'm a big fan of, I guess as the university would put it, equality. If it is a secular and apolitical space and there cannot be Christmas trees and there cannot be menorahs, then there should be no minority flags of any type. It should be strictly a secular space.
Michael.
Yes, I agree with you. Graham Carr, the president of the university, has set up a task force to address systematic discrimination, identity-based violence, and hate on campus and beyond. On the surface, this is a positive initiative, but one of the three co-chairs appointed is a supporter of BDS. She's against the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, and she's an anti-Zionist. I think it says everything.
Okay, Natty.
All laws should be enforced to protect Jewish people, and I also think we need to be speaking to our universities to ensure that they're upholding their own codes of conduct.
Mr. Oberman.
The rule of law doesn't apply only to Jews. It applies to all citizens of Canada. When you don't follow the rule of law, you create a vacuum for the haters. My recommendation is before you create new laws, enforce the laws that are there and educate police and people who enforce those laws. Because just as an example, on March the 5th, when I had an injunction, the first thing the police said to me, je comprends pas. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez? What? Education, education, education. Remember what I said. Ignorance is not bliss, and education is the solution. More laws create more ambiguity before you enforce the current laws.
All right. And so what would you suggest that the federal government do to ensure that the enforcement of the rule of law is applied equally to all Canadians? I'll start with Mr. Tarshish. Oh, that was it. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Housefather, please.
The federal government writes the criminal code. I mean, the Parliament of Canada makes the criminal code. Enforcement is provincial, not federal. And today, a lot of things have been blamed on the federal government when post-secondary institutions are the jurisdiction of the provinces, and college administrators are largely responsible for what happens, yet there seems to be an attempt by one party to pretend the federal government is responsible for everything. I again want to come back to your experiences on campus. One of the things that I've heard a lot from many sources is that these demonstrations are not at all anti-Semitic. It's a small, tiny group of people that are anti-Semitic at these demonstrations. I think you've all said that you don't agree with that. What universities, we're going to have the opportunity to call university presidents to this committee if we would like to do that, and I think we should. What universities presidents should we call? Ms. Pressman, you have a national organization. Could you give us some examples of who we should call?
I mean, I would say all of them, but to be realistic, OCAD University, I think, is one to do it in Toronto, TMU. I also think Emily Carr University in BC. Those are my top three, I would say.
Mr. Tarshish, do you have a national organization?
I do have a national organisation, but I don't necessarily know whether I've been in Canada for 6 years. I know the university presidents on my campus. I don't know whether.
I understand. Ms. Cook, should we call the president of the University of Alberta?
Absolutely.
Mr. Eshayek, should we call the president of Concordia?
Yes, Graham Carr should be the first one to be here. And Concordia University, we can look back. 2002, the Bibi Netanyahu riot. We can see 2014 BDS. 2021, Nikki was attacked. And 2023 and now. So Graham Carr should be here.
Ms. Nashon, should we call Dean Saney at McGill?
Yes, I've received emails from the McGill administration for the past 7 months with empty words, and I'd like to know why those words are empty and that they're not implemented with action.
Mr. Oberman, you've dealt with both Concordia and McGill. Should we call both of those presidents?
Not only should you call them, if they don't come, you should subpoena them, because those are the people that are causing the problems. Listen to what this poor student has to say. And Anthony, you are correct. But you know, funding of justice is a key issue today in Canada. And when the judges don't have enough ability to sit in court because there's not enough staff, there are issues. But I will tell you this.
I understand. I have other questions and I have very limited time.
I understand.
And I understand funding is an issue.
Help us solve the problem. No distinctions made. Concordia is a top offender, period.
I understand. Do I have any time left? No. 30 seconds. I'm just going to end by thanking all of you, because again, there's some times that when things may not exactly be only in our jurisdiction, just having those voices, having the national media cover those voices, and having Canadians, all those Canadians of good faith, understanding your stories and understanding what's happening on campuses, I think it's going to cause many more Canadians to rally around this cause and to push university administrators and all levels of government to do better. Thank you so much.
Not forget about CJEPs.
Thank you.
Yes, because there are CJEPs that are suffering as well.
For the Monsieur Fortin, 3 minutes pour vous et 3 minutes for Monsieur Garrison, and then we will conclude. So.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Donc, en 3 minutes, je vais essayer de faire le tour rapidement, là, mais
I'll try to do, in 3 minutes, I'll try to do the round. Universities should maintain an environment that does not allow this type of behavior. I believe that. Mr. Berman has indicated that the police don't intervene when they should. I concur with that. The fight that we're leading today for the Jewish community is not just for the Jewish community, it's for all Canadians. It's a social problem. We see it everywhere on many campuses. A university campus should be the most welcoming community or place all over. Always, we can have as much differences of opinion, but with mutual respect. I support what you're saying. It's totally unacceptable. To maintain a climate which does not allow this type of behavior, Madam Cook, currently in universities today, are there other cultural communities that are the targets of this kind of harassment, or is it only the Jewish community that has been isolated in this respect? Yes, in fact, some Christian communities
supported by sort of the politically popular mood of the day on campus.
Vous avez connaissance de situations qui impliquent.
So do you have any examples that you can provide that are subject to this kind of harsh behavior?
About November 8th, I said we have November 8th, we have November 23rd, we have December 13th, we have March 4th. I don't even need to look at the paper. I remember these dates. I want to tell you something. Since I was 13, the first time I came to Montreal, to Canada, was when I was 13. And it was my dream to move here. When I finished my military service, I moved here. But I never imagined that moving to Montreal will be the worst thing that happened to me because of the anti-Semitism and because of what I have to go through right now.
Désolé d'entendre ça, monsieur.
Oh, I'm very sad to hear that. You come to Quebec. I hope you stay here for a while, a long time. I have very little time left, so in my opinion, that's what we have to work on. I'm one of those who agree that we have to apply the law. We don't need a religious debate. People are entitled to practice whatever religion they have. Thank you.
For the final 3 minutes, Mr. Garrison, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I always point out, one of the advantages of being the fourth party is often you get the last questions. One of the things I have heard a lot about, and we haven't really focused on here today, is the attempt to exclude Jewish student organizations and defund them. So I'm going to start with Mr. Tarshish to talk about that experience, because I'm very concerned about that moment.
This is a regular thing. I mean, Jewish student organizations attempting to be banned on campuses. Firstly, it's not a new thing. Everyone wants us to think this is a new thing. I come from the UK originally. There were attempts to ban Jewish societies on campus in the UK from as early as 1973, especially after the UN passed its infamous Zionism is racism bill in 1975. That became a really serious thing that Jewish students had to deal with in the UK for 25 years. We've come out the other side of it, and I can tell you, coming here, it is shocking. There is a lot more that can be done right now, and seeing my organization, Hillel, be called a Zionist cultural institution, therefore not allowed on campus, is just laughable to me.
Nicole.
At the campus protests, there's often calls for the BDS movement, which effectively does not do anything to change the lives of Palestinian people. It maybe will remove sabra hummus from the cafeterias, but other than that, it labels Jewish organizations who, other than the anti-Zionist Jewish organizations that represent a fringe minority of our community, we all have ties to Israel. Hillel facilitates birthright, facilitates internships in Israel, and our organizations, our mainstream organizations that facilitate Shabbat dinners and social events are deemed complicit, and therefore funding is attempted to be removed from our organizations.
And Nadi.
For many Jews, Zionism is completely linked to our Jewish identity, to Judaism. So declaring these institutions, trying to ban them because they're Zionist, for some of us, we see it as them trying to ban them because they're Jewish.
Thank you. Rachel.
No student on campus but Jewish students have to qualify their cultural heritage before they are allowed in public spaces or to be taken seriously.
Thank you. I know we just have 30 seconds as I can read. I just want to thank you again for the courage and forthrightness which you've brought to this table today. And I promise you that I know other members of the committee will work hard to make sure that your voices are reflected in the work that we do. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for appearing today. Please know that the committee chair members are here because we want to be here. It is a study that we all wanted to listen to, and we are here to do what we can do as parliamentarians for the time that we have here. So thank you very much for coming. For the members, 2 points. The clerk will send emails to you as you return to your offices. Please look at them. One is from the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention. He will require a response from you members by Friday on that. Yes, no, please. The second email he will send is an email from the Liaison Committee. That one we have a little bit more time on, so just take a look at that email. Thank you very much and have a lovely, lovely day, everybody.